Hi everyone. Before we get into the lesson, I just want to say great work yesterday with those that were engaged. You asked lots of questions. You made sure that you had a good understanding. Keep it up. Keep up the questions. Email me. Post stuff in Hasia. And remember, you can also join the Teams app in the activity feed every day. I'll be there. You can drop in for questions. I'll be there to help you. I can share my screen with you, all those great things. So again, for those of you that were online, good work. Hasia, just want to remind you, I would highly recommend that you guys join Hasia if you haven't already. This is a good way for me to send out general communications with everyone, like, hey, the survey that I have listed, I haven't actually uploaded it yet. Or stuff like D2L is down, so I can post that stuff, which it actually was down for a little bit yesterday. Which, speaking of the survey, make sure if you haven't that you go do it. I think as of recording this, there was 18 out of 26 of you that had done it. So I'd like as many of you to do it as possible. So maybe even pause it if you haven't done it yet. Go do that. Remember, you can click on it in the announcement feed from yesterday, or you could go to assessments, quizzes, and then it's called statistics, class survey. And then tomorrow, I'll be able to take that data. I will upload the assignment sometime before lunch, and then we'll use that data to complete our assignment, which will be due on the 6th at 3 o'clock. So yesterday you guys looked at definitions, survey design, question types, collecting data, organizing it into tables, and then making bar graphs, histograms, and you didn't do a pie chart, but we learned how you could do a pie chart. Today we're going to focus, or for this lesson, we're going to focus on some more calculations, and this is called measures of central tendency, which is just a fancy stats phrase for mean, median, and mode, which those are just fancy stats words for averages, middle values, and consistency. So we're going to start with a scenario. 2 car salesmen are competing for a mid-year bonus. The owner of the dealership wants to assess the better competitor. We're going to decide who is the best candidate based off of 3 different metrics. So we're going to check average, check the middle, and check for consistency. So let's start with Matt. Going back to grade school, most of you probably remember how to find an average. Take all the numbers, add them up, and divide by how many there are. So if we take Matt's monthly sales, add them all up, hopefully you get 161. And we're going to divide by how many numbers there are, which in this case there's 6. And we use our calculator. So take your calculator, 161 divided by 6, 26.8. We'll go to 1 decimal place. So 26.8. Now let's check Jordan. Add up all Jordan's numbers, 34 all the way across to 26. You should get 169. Divide by how many numbers he has, which in this case is still just 6. Using our calculator, 169 divided by 6, 28, when we round, 28.2. So based off averages, it looks like Jordan's more deserving so far. So we'll write more deserving based off average. Now we're going to check the middle values. So I'm going to try to keep it color coded. Now, when you're finding the middle values, you don't just look at the middle number, meaning we're not just going to look right here and say that's the middle. They have to be in order from smallest to largest. So if we take Matt's numbers and organize them from largest to smallest, 16, then 26, 28 happens twice, and then 31 and 32. And while we're here, we'll just do Jordan's as well. So from smallest to largest, Jordan actually has 26 3 times, and then 27, 30, and 34. An easy way to find the middle when you are working with data sets like this, start on the outside and either use your fingers to get to the middle, or you can just cross them out starting on the outside. So I'll cross them out. So we'll cross those two out, and we're going to work our way to the middle. And so basically we kind of jump from here to here, and then we jump here and here and here. And so my middle is actually right there. And what's in the middle of 28 and 28? Hopefully you're thinking 28. Let's do the same thing for Jordan. Start on the edges, work your way in, and our middle is right there. And what's halfway between 26 and 27? 26.5, or 26.5. Based off the middle values now, it looks like Matt is more deserving. So more deserving based off middles. Consistency. Consistency generally just means how often you can recreate something. So what happens the most often? So if we look at Matt, the number that happens most often is 28. And that happens twice. If we look at Jordan, he actually has 26, and that happens 3 times. So based off of consistency, it looks like Jordan is more consistent. You know what you're getting with him. You're getting 26 3 times, whereas Matt's kind of all over the place. And even if you look at their numbers, you can kind of see Matt's got one number that's 16, and it's a lot different than the other ones. And if you look at your definitions from yesterday, when you have something that's a lot different than the rest, it's called an outlier. So Matt had one really inconsistent month, and Jordan seemed to be a little bit more consistent. So maybe, it's up to you, you're the boss, but maybe Jordan's more deserving. Because of consistency. You kind of know what you're getting with Jordan. Whereas with Matt, maybe you have a low month like that 16. Or maybe you don't. Maybe Matt had something going on in his life, or he was sick, or who knows, right? And that's why we're going to look at some different ways to calculate this in the future. So what we just did are 3 ways to find the common trend or central tendency. The mean. So we're going to have a new symbol here. The statistical symbol for mean is that X with a line over it. And how you say that is X bar. So from now on, when we're calculating the mean, which is really just a fancy stats term for average, so we'll make that definition here. Essentially, the average, which means you add up the numbers and divide by how many. So from now on, when you see mean, you got to think average, and you're going to see this symbol X bar, X with a horizontal line above it. That just means finding the average. So our first example, Jessica's buying a home. It's going to require a mortgage. The bank wants to know her monthly salary. She works on commission, which means her salary, well, her earnings will fluctuate. So they want to calculate her average salary to determine what kind of mortgage they can give her. So if these are her income levels for the first 6 months of the year, what's her average salary? Or we could say what's her mean salary? So this new symbol, X bar, equals, add up all those numbers. So add up January all the way to June. And if you need to, pause it, take out your calculator, type those in. You should hopefully get $22,385. And don't forget to divide by how many numbers there are, which there's 6. And since it's money, we should go to 2 decimal places. And when you type that in your calculator, hopefully you get this. So her average salary was $3,730.83 per month. Pretty simple example, pretty straightforward. That's the mean, basically calculating an average. The second measure of central tendency is the median, which is essentially the middle value when the data set is arranged from smallest to largest, from lowest to largest. To find the median, if there's an odd number of data points, you take the middle number if there's an even number of data points, you take the average of the 2 middle numbers. And we did that on our very first example with the car salesman. So without even telling you, when I was like, what's the middle between 28 and 28, you basically were finding the average between those 2 numbers, which is 28. When I asked you what was halfway between 26 and 27, really you were finding the average. Now most of us know that halfway between 26 and 27 is 26.5, but if you didn't, you would just use your calculator. So we're going to do a specific couple of examples here. So we want to find the median mark for each list of student grades. So let's do, we'll say this is A. So first list the numbers in ascending order, which basically just means go lowest to highest. When you're working with larger data sets, it's a good idea for organization to cross out the numbers as you go. So the lowest number is 54, cross it out, then you won't double count it, or you won't miss it. Then 62, then 64, then 72, then 76, 89, and 93. Then we can do our little number trick, work from the outside in. And you can see there's only one number left. And this goes with, so part A kind of goes with this quick little shortcut here. So if there's an odd number of data points, in this case there was an odd number, there was 7, there's going to be just one middle number. So 72, that is our median. Let's do B. Smallest to largest first. So 56, 62, 63. 67, 84, and then last one, 98. Work on the outside in. And what you're going to notice is your middle is right there. Which, since we have two, we're finding halfway between that. Maybe you know it's 65, maybe you don't. If you don't, so this kind of goes with this one. Take the average of the two middle numbers. So 63 plus 67, which is 130, divided by 2, because there's two numbers. And again, we get 65. So there is our median. The biggest mistake that I see when you do these, and again, they're not hard, but the biggest mistake I see, people forgetting to put them in order from lowest to smallest. Or you could do largest to smallest instead of smallest to largest, it doesn't matter. I like to stick with smallest to largest, but it's really up to you. As long as you put them in some order. You can't just take the middle number based on what you see. And then our third and final measure of central tendency is mode. That is the value that occurs most often. There can be more than one mode, or there can be no mode. So there can be no mode as well as more than one mode. So example 3, find the mode for each list of numbers. You're looking for the one that happens most often, or the one that's repeated the most often. If I look at set A, I don't see any numbers that are repeated. So what you would say for this question is no mode. For B, if we take a look at the number that's repeated most often, 30 happens twice, and 25 happens twice. So for this, what you do is you list two modes. So 30 and 25. And this is technically considered bimodal, meaning there's two numbers that happen twice. And even if you wanted to, you could list twice. They both happen twice. You don't have to. And then if we go through C, what number appears most often? 79 is our mode, and it actually happens 3 times. That's the most. Again, you don't have to write that. Just helps let me know you know what you're doing. And then number 4, you kind of have a little bit of a very simple challenge question. So the modes of the following set of data are 7 and 9. What must the value of y be? So take a look at your number set. And I've told you there's two modes, 7 and 9. And we know that 9 happens twice. So what does that mean y has to be? Hopefully you're thinking y is 7 because it had two modes. And if 9 happens twice, 7 has to happen twice. So y equals 7. Hopefully there's no questions with that. Again, pretty straightforward stuff. A lot of you probably did this work or some part of this work, maybe not calling it central tendency, but back in grade school. So again, make sure you've completed that survey so I can get the assignment uploaded. to D2L this around lunchtime. Your next thing is just a note that's not a video lesson. It's just a summary, almost examples. You can copy it down, print it, just view it. Then workbook 4.4. And then hopefully by 11 o'clock, between 11 and 11:30, I'll have your assignment uploaded. And it'll just be doing stuff like you did right here, plus the graphing, and then what your afternoon video lesson is. And then we'll have one more video lesson in the afternoon and some workbook material. And then your tutorial period at the end of the day will just be working on your assignment. Before I let you go, just a couple common questions I had. One was, do I have to go by the timelines? The answer is no. If you're done early, you're done early. If you don't get everything done in the day, like by 2:55, then that means you have to finish it at nighttime. So it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go. Obviously, the advantage to finishing early would be you can ask me questions and you don't get behind. But if you need more time and you go beyond 2:55, that's perfectly okay as well. Just try to get everything done each day so it doesn't carry over to the next day and then set you off behind. So that's everything for our first video lesson of the day. Take a look on D2L for that assignment. Make sure you do your survey, and then we'll have a look at that second video lesson later this afternoon.